These are the forming tools of the legs of the Stormtrooper armour. I sculpted them from reconstituted aluminium, taking consideration for undercuts and the depth of draw we need without the material thinning. So the moulds get lowered into the body of the machine, and we use a sheet of ABS plastic, which is a mixture of 3 types of plastic, quite a complicated structure, that we need to heat approximately 2.3 minutes. So the moulds are pushed into the molten plastic, and the pressure of the atmosphere pushes the plastic around the tools. The moulding is released from the mould, and this is a rigid structure when it's cooled down, forming a piece of leg armour. This is another vacuum forming tool. This is a thigh and some greeblies down here forming the next part of the 35 components that go up to make the Stormtrooper armour. These are the forming tools for the Stormtrooper arms. They're placed on a forming bed. Below this bed we have a vacuum chamber that we excavate the air from, and when the molten plastic is heated, we then throw a valve and the atmospheric pressure pushes the plastic down into the vacuum cavity. This is the bottom part of the Stormtrooper. This is a forearm, and this is the belt ammo made out of a wooden tool. Yeah, that plastic was still molten until the cold air cooled it into a rigid plastic. That's about the time cycle in which it will go into a rigid format to demold, about 30 seconds. This is the Stormtrooper front abdominal plate. It's a large reconstituted aluminium mould that I sculpted. We need to check the consistency of this semi-constant material on large mouldings like this, because they have to stretch a long way. And you have to blow a large bubble to pre-stretch the material to make sure that it forms evenly down the edge and doesn't end up as thin sections around important areas. Large surface areas, they need quite a lot of cooling down before they're going to be demolded, otherwise you're going to get distortion. You have to make sure that the actual material is pretty cold. Having said that, to spring undercuts off, you've got to demold it when it's still hot. So there's a balance to strike there. Inflating air into the cavity now just to help release. There we are. This is the last piece of the jigsaw puzzle for the body armour. This is the knee ammo here, which is a tricky moulding, so this needs a little bit of an extra help before the vacuum is pulled on. This is a little method of post-bending something that's already moulded. This is the shoulder strap for the Stormtrooper armour, and it's already got a lot of shape in it, but I can just heat it up a little to manipulate it. This is a way of post-manipulating the knee armour. It's already moulded in a flat form and I want it in a curved format, so I can manipulate it just with a little tweaking. So that's the beauty of thermoplastics, you can manipulate them within 30 seconds. We want to emphasise the trim line here, so the tumble home highlights the edge here. When you get a highlighted edge on all the edges of the armour, then the armour looks three-dimensional. That gives it its organic feel. This edge here is an over-moulded step. When we trim back here, this material remains thick, and that's where we want to chemically weld in the future. So we're going to chemically weld these halves of the legs together using a solvent with the base material dissolved in it at different textures. So here we go. Going to weld the other half of the calf together to make this into a complete bottom half of the leg. Okay, we can undo the little pegs now, as this strip is already welded in nice and securely. So we put some of our proprietary solvent down the inside of that. That's started to eat into it already, accurately. Place a couple of clips either end of that strip, and then gingerly put a weight in the most important place, and that will weld itself together the same as this, and all the limbs are welded in this format. Here are a set of limbs all welded together. We have the thighs, the calves, forearms and the upper arms. What I'm going to do is trim them all by fettling them with this machine to make them acceptable as in the shape, not only to put on but aesthetically correct. It's really easy without any fittings whatsoever. So this is the front abdominal plate, which is enhanced with our little electronic greaves here, and we're going to fettle this back so it's nice and even on the edges, catching the light, and see if we can get a good fitting. See how this fits us? That fits completely there. The chest piece fits over the top so we can get movement there, and it's not difficult to get a good little fix into the back there.